Did you really send a message? Oh, okay. My voice. Joking.
Do we have to do something with this?
I think they're on already. Unless, are you presenting?
Yeah, but it's in the, I think he just
So then
has,
he just displays. Okay, so I think we're good.
Okay.
I'm just waiting on Anne. All right, I'd like to call the Tiffin City Council meeting of Monday, February 5th, 2024 to order. The invocation and pledge of allegiance will be led by Councilmember Kaler.
Thank you, Madam President. I often find inspiration through science fiction. I'm especially fond of optimistic views of the future. Science fiction doesn't get any more optimistic than Star Trek. So here's one of my favorite quotes from that show. I am pleased to see that we have differences. May we together become greater than the sum of both of us. And if you're a Star Trek fan, those words were spoken by Sirach.
Thank you. Stand with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I will ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Councilmember Kaler.
Present.
Councilmember Jones.
here.
Councilmember Reesner.
Here.
Councilmember Snee.
Here.
Councilmember Thacker.
Here.
Councilmember Hayes.
Here.
And Councilmember Herniman.
Here.
Let the record show all 7 members of council are present. Minutes from January 2nd, 2024, regular and committee of the whole meetings were distributed. Are there any questions, corrections, or deletions? Okay, seeing none, the minutes will stand approved as presented. We are now under committee reports. Finance Committee, Councilmember Reesner.
No report, Madam President.
Law and Community Planning, Councilmember Kaler.
No report, Madam President.
Materials and Equipment, Councilmember Jones.
No report, Madam President.
Personnel and Labor Relations, Councilmember Hayes.
Thank you, Madam President. A Personnel and Labor Relations Committee meeting was held in City Chambers on January 22nd, 2024, starting at 5:15 p.m. The purpose of this meeting was to discuss Mayor's request for legislation 24-06, an appointment to the Shade Tree and Beautification Commission, and any other business that comes before the committee. Attending were committee members John Hayes, Cheyenne Thacker, and John Kaler. Also attending were Mayor Lee Wilkinson, City Administrator Nick Ducho, and council members Aaron Jones, Scott Horniman, and Dennis Snee. Councilman Hayes started the meeting by asking for any comment from the committee on the appointee, and no comments were made. Councilman Hayes asked Mayor Wilkinson about the reasoning for the selection of the new appointee. Mayor Wilkinson told the committee the basis for his selection, including completion of the Tree Commission Academy by the appointee. Councilwoman Thacker motioned to accept the mayor's appointment. Councilman Kaler seconded, and the motion carried on a vote of 3-0. With no other business to discuss, our meeting adjourned at 5:18 p.m. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Councilmember Hayes? Okay, thank you. Recreation and Public Property, Councilmember Snee.
No report at this time, Madam President.
Thank you. Street, Sidewalks, and Sewers, Councilmember Thacker.
Thank you, Madam President. I do have a report. A Street, Sidewalks, and Sewers Committee meeting was held on January 22nd, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. in Council Chambers. Attending were committee members Cheyenne Thacker, Aaron Jones, Scott Horniman, Kevin Reesner, and Dennis Snee, along with council members John Hayes and John Kaler, Law Director Zach Fowler, Mayor Lee Wilkinson, City Administrator Nick Dutro, City Engineer Matt Watson, and Public Works Superintendent Brandon Berner. Thacker called the meeting to order. The purpose of the meeting is to discuss Mayor's request for legislation 24-07, 24-08, 24-09, and any other business that may come before them. Berner informed the committee of a grant available to the city through the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. There is no restriction on where the funds can be used in the city, but they must be used for planting. Horniman motioned to have the law director prepare legislation. Reesner seconded the motion. The motion passed 5-0. Watson informed the committee of the current process the city follows to request qualifications from professional design firms and the change being requested. This change would allow the city administrator to maintain a file of pre-qualified professional design firms for projects under $50,000. Snee motioned to have the law director prepare legislation. Reesner seconded the motion. The motion passed 5-0. Watson informed the committee of the sewer long-term control plan to update new council members, along with updates to parts of the project. An overview of where all projects currently stand is attached here too as Exhibit A. A map of the sewer LTCP projects is attached here too as Exhibit B. A spreadsheet of the project cost and schedule is attached here too as Exhibit C. All exhibits were provided by Watson. Important updates to the sewer LTCP are as follows. 1. MS Consultants is managing the general project coordination. 2. Several projects are starting the construction phase of the process, including CSO Basins 24, 30, and 16. Watson is working with the Ohio EPA to amend the LTCP to potentially change the EQ basin to a high-rate treatment facility. Watson would like to submit the amendment to the Ohio EPA March 1, 2024. The final update for the sewer LTCP relates to CSO Basins 18, 19, 22, 33, and 37. Most of this part of the project is in the downtown area. Dye and smoke testing will need to be done. Watson requests council to pass legislation to start soliciting qualifications from and enter into a contract with a professional design firm for consulting services in preparation of the engineering and design for construction of the inflow reduction for CSO Basins 18, 19, 23, 33, and 37. Reesner motioned to have the law director prepare legislation. Snee seconded the motion. The motion passed 5-0. With no further business, the committee adjourned at 6:47 p.m. Respectfully submitted.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you. And Economic Development and Downtown Planning, Councilmember Horniman.
No report, Madam President.
Thank you. Does anyone see the need to schedule a committee of the whole meeting? Thank you. And we are now under reports of the officers. His Honor, Mayor Lee Wilkinson.
Thank you, Madam President. The first week of January, I gave an assignment to all the department heads to come up with a long-term plan for expenses, capital expenses in each one of their departments. And so I've been trying to get all of that put together in a master planning sheet so that we can see and plan for what's going to happen over the next 5 years and beyond. So that's what I've been working on. When you see me in the office and you go what's that guy doing in there just sitting at the desk? Okay, so we're working on some of that stuff now. And then when we get that inputted as far as we can, then we'll get some help from the department heads to nail that down and figure out where our money's going to be going. And we might actually have to get some outside help with that for budget planning in the future. So with that in mind, we always are taking a closer look at all of our expenses. Like this year, each month, and over the next 5 years, we'll be taking a close look at all those expenses. With that in mind, we want to make sure that we're wisely spending our taxpayer dollars. I would like to announce a community cleanup. The downtown committee has a downtown cleanup after the eclipse on April the 8th, the following Saturday. And I think it would be great if we had a community cleanup before the eclipse. If we're having a lot of people come into town for that, it would be nice to get some volunteers together so that we can get some of the leaves and things that have accumulated over the wintertime all cleaned up so the town looks nice for that. So be looking for opportunities to volunteer for that, and that cleanup will be Saturday, March 30th. So we'll get the information out there for you. Let's see. This week on Thursday, February 8th, the Kiwanis Cooking Show is going to be at the middle school. Chief Polly will be there with some other of the police department, and I'll be presenting a dessert for auction. So if you want to attend that, it's at the middle school this Thursday. Congratulations to Chief Chappell and the fire department on their 130th anniversary in the fire department. Their ribbon cutting or hose separation was Friday. Just so you're aware, Aqua has plans to begin work to replace water lines starting as early as late February or early March on Madison Street, parts of Melmore Street, and parts of Miami Street. So spring is coming early. In other news, I've been working on the housing issue in Tiffin in partnership with Seneca County Land Bank, the Tiffin Community Foundation, and GELCAP to take advantage of a Welcome Home Ohio grant, and I'll keep you updated on that. And for the upcoming eclipse on April the 8th, if you are planning a wedding or maybe just renewing your vows, you might want to think about joining the crowd down at the East Green in front of the amphitheater. They're having a mass wedding. People all over the, I guess, all over the eastern United States are coming. So I think they have about 50 couples so far signed up for that. Wow. And I'd like to turn it over now to Matt Watson for an update with the Road and Bridge Levy.
Thank you, Mayor, Madam President, City Council. Most importantly, thank you to the residents of the city of Tiffin for entrusting myself and the city engineer's office with their support of the city's Road and Bridge Levy. As promised, in an effort to show transparency and promote the fiscally responsible plan developed with these additional levy funds, I'm here to publicly provide the 2024 annual update for the Road and Bridge Levy. Tonight's agenda will really focus on 3 items. First, I'm going to give a little bit of a background in regard to the levy, then discuss revenue and expenses, and then finally the 2024 budget and plan moving forward. In regards to background, the levy's a 5-year term, additional 0.25% restricted income tax that can only be used towards the construction-related expenses for the city's roads, bridges, and roadway culverts. It was initially passed by the voters of the city of Tiffin in May of 2018, and then continued by the voters of the city of Tiffin in May of 2022. The current levy expires December 31st of 2028. Next, discussing revenue and expenses. So you'll see in the upper left-hand corner of the presentation, I've broken down the revenue collected by year. In 2023, our revenue that came in as part of this additional 0.25% income tax was $1,528,896.61. Over the first 5 years that this levy has been implemented, the total revenue collected is $6,813,867.03. You'll see, looking at the chart as well as the line graph in the upper right-hand corner, that the revenue has consistently increased since implementation in 2019. Although last year it kind of flattened out, we didn't see the increase between 2023 and 2022 like we did in years past. But it is good to see the continued growth and increase in revenue on an annual basis. It's helping offset the additional costs that we're seeing in construction, specifically recently with the recent increase in inflation that we had seen. I also want to note, since 2018, we've collected an additional $7.7 million in revenue through state and federal grants for road and bridge infrastructure. So putting that $7.7 million with the approximate $6.8 million that we've collected through the income tax, it's pretty safe to say that our residents are getting about $2 of improvements in road and bridge infrastructure for every additional $1 that they're contributing in investment. So that's really great to see there. In regards to expenses, last year in 2023, our total expenses were $1,971,659.84, and those can be broken down into $274,422.52 in levy funds towards street resurfacing projects. Last year, we had 2 street resurfacing projects. We had our local paving project, which resurfaced the roads that are shown in the map on the bottom left-hand corner. That was nearly a $700,000 project in which we secured a $500,000 0% loan from the Ohio Public Works Commission. Likewise, last year, we had the urban paving project, which resurfaced West Market Street from Elmer Street to Sandusky Street, as well as South Washington Street from St. Joe's Church south to Glen Street and Kraut School. That project was 80% funded through a federal grant received from ODOT through their urban paving program. So although our local road and bridge levy expense was only $274,422.52 towards street resurfacing, last year's total street resurfacing investment was $1,248,176.29. So we got quite a bit of paving done. Likewise, last year, we invested $1,691,910.98 of levy funds towards the Ellis Street River Bridge project. I want to remind everyone that we had secured a $500,000 grant from the Ohio Public Works Commission, as well as a $2 million grant from ODOT's Municipal Bridge Program for that project. So those were the maximum amount of grant funding that we could receive from each of those funding sources. And the grant money, in addition to the levy being passed, has enabled us to complete that project without taking on any long-term debt for the city. So that's a great thing for the city. And lastly, we spent $5,326.34 of levy funds towards the East Perry Street reconstruction project, which was the full road reconstruction on Perry Street last year from the Greenfield Street intersection westerly to the Jefferson Street intersection. Majority of that project was paid for with an ODOT Small Cities grant that paid for 95% of the construction-related costs for that project. So that was great to see that we were able to leverage those outside funds towards all of those projects last year. Next, discussing the 2024 budget and plan moving forward. So after the 2023 revenue and expenses that I just described, our fund carryover from 2023 to 2024 in this restricted fund was $843,261.41. And then our 2024 budget breaks down as follows. In regards to street construction, City Council passed a budget of $1,402,000 for this year. $100,000 will be utilized to pay the 0% 5-year OPWC loan that I had discussed that was used towards last year's street resurfacing project. And the 5-year term on that loan ensures that that loan is paid off before the levy expires at the end of 2028. Likewise, we have a $1,228.67 payment that is due to ODOT for our portion, our last payment portion of the 2021 urban paving project. So as a reminder, the 2021 urban paving project paved Washington Street downtown, as well as portions of Sandusky Street and Melmore Street. And then lastly, in regards to street construction, we have our 2024 pavement repair program. We finalized our construction contract with the contractor M&B Asphalt last Friday in the amount of $1,292,673.64. And that contract will be paving the 23 roads listed on the right-hand side of the screen and depicted on the map above that. We also budgeted $200,000 towards bridge construction for this upcoming year. You do have legislation in your packet this evening to increase that number, but the increase of the $200,000, I want to note, is also decreasing that $450,000 in engineering services that was originally budgeted. So we're just moving funds that were previously budgeted around in different line items within the Road and Bridge Levy Fund. When we prepared the budget in the fall and into winter, we only had estimated costs at that time. So as we're getting closer to the end of the projects and getting more refined costs, we just had to make some amendments there. But we did budget to $200,000 to pay our remaining contract with E.S. Wagner for the Ellis Street River Bridge project. In regards to engineering services, we will have the remaining payments that we owe our consultant, American Structure Point, for the inspection services for the Ellis Street River Bridge project. We'll have the remaining invoices that we'll owe our consultant, DGL, for the inspection of the East Perry Street reconstruction project that was completed last year. We'll be moving forward with the design of the South Sandusky Street culvert, which is scheduled to begin construction in 2026. We'll be moving forward with the design of the US 224 urban paving program with our consultant OHM, which is scheduled to begin construction in the fall of 2025. And I want to note for the US 224 urban paving program, we received a grant from ODOT through the urban paving program that will pay 80% up to $330,000 of those construction costs. And then lastly, we'll be starting the design on the North Sandusky Street project with our consultant American Structure Point, which is supposed to begin construction in 2026. And as a reminder, we received 3 different federal grants towards that project. We received a small cities grant that will pay 95% up to $1,658,961 to pay for the full road reconstruction of North Sandusky Street between Hall Street and Tome Street. We received an urban paving grant in the amount of 80% up to $500,000 to continue north of Tome Street for the resurfacing costs from Tome Street to our city's northerly corporation limits. And lastly, we received an abbreviated safety grant from ODOT in the amount of $437,725 for improvements in the Sixes Corners intersection, which will consist of access management improvements as well as signal upgrades. So assuming that our revenue would run flat in 2024 as with 2023, with the expenses that we're proposing, we're projecting a fund carryover into 2025 of roughly about $376,660 at this time. So with that, in closing, I'm just going to promise everyone that we're going to continue to be proactive, leveraging the state and federal grant dollars with the additional local funding to give the residents the biggest bang for their buck. With Ellis Street completed, all of our bridges are now in good condition and rated a 5 or greater on a scale of 1 to 9. And the only roadway culvert needing to be replaced is the South Sandusky Street culvert, which I said we're moving forward with the design this upcoming year and go into construction in 2026. So given the state of our bridges and our culverts and the fact that the culvert cost is going to be significantly minimal compared to the bridge costs that we have seen with the Ellis Street River Bridge project being roughly a $5 million project. And prior to that, we did a deck replacement on the canal bridge down on Ellis Street. Our focus moving forward is going to be on our roads. Between now and 2028, you're going to see a lot of road paving. And I believe that the street paving list each year moving forward is going to be similar to that we presented this year with 23 roads. So we have a lot of work to do on our roads, but I think we're going to see a lot of improvements in the very near future, given that that's going to be our focus. So with that, lastly, just want to say we're going to continue to be transparent. I'm going to continue to provide the residents, council, the administration with this annual update, and we're going to continue to implement and build upon the fiscally responsible and effective plan that we've developed thus far. So with that, I appreciate everyone's time this evening and open it up if anyone has any questions.
Councilmember Reesner.
I know we did the study on West Market Street. I think it was between Hopewell Avenue and, I don't know where that ended, but when would that safety and access management construction start when that gets scheduled?
Yeah, so the plan with that project is we had a deadline of last Friday to submit letters of interest for our request for qualifications. We're going to enter into a contract this year with a firm to do that study. That is not being paid for with Road and Bridge Levy funds. That is being paid for with our restricted state highway funds that can only be used on our state highways in the city of Tiffin. Okay. The plan is to get the study completed this year, and then moving forward, we're going to identify what our opportunities are to make improvements out there with the safety funds that are available through ODOT. Typically, it's a 2 to 3 year process from the time that you would apply till the funds become available that we can begin construction. So I'm not anticipating any construction happening out there until probably 3 to 5 years out from now.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Thank you. Very helpful update.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. That was awesome. Thank you for keeping us updated. That concludes my report, Madam President.
Okay, thank you. Clerk of Council Ann Forrest.
No report, Madam President.
Director of Finance Kathy Kaufman.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to give a short explanation for ordinance 24-18. That is the one that I have asked to be suspended tonight. Just wanted to let everyone know that this is for replacing a pool motor that has gone out when the slide of the pool, and that will be paid for with NOPEC funds that we will be receiving. So we asked for suspension to make sure that we can get this ordered and have it be installed and operational by the time the pool opens this summer. And that was usually by the end of May. So just in case there's any delays or anything like that, we wanted to be proactive and get this ordered as soon as possible. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you, Madam President.
Appreciate it. And Director of Law, Zach Howard. Fowler. Sorry.
No report, Madam President.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. We are now under written communications.
Thank you, Madam President. We have Mayor's request for legislation number 24-10, application to NOPEC Energized Community Grant.
Thank you. Mayor's request for legislation number 24-10 will be referred to the Recreation and Public Property Committee.
Mayor's request for legislation number 24-11, approval of city administrator as proxy for Seneca County General Health District meeting.
Thank you. Mayor's request for legislation number 24-11 will be referred to the Personnel and Labor Relations Committee.
Mayor's request for legislation number 24-12, appointment to the Zoning Board of Appeals of Don Yanatuno.
Thank you. Mayor's request for legislation number 24-12 will be referred to the Personnel and Labor Relations Committee.
And then we have a Finance Director's request for legislation that is not in the packet, but the corresponding ordinance 2024-17 is. Its request for legislation number F24-7 to amend the 2024 budget ordinance 23-94 to reallocate funds in the 0.25% income tax public streets budget.
Okay, thank you. You said that was Mayor's request for legislation 24-7?
7.
And that's prepared tonight as ordinance 24-17?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And then we have Finance Director's request for legislation number F24-8 to amend the 2024 budget ordinance 23-94 to appropriate funds into the police budget.
Finance Director's request for legislation number F24-8 is prepared tonight as ordinance 24-15.
Finance Director's request for legislation number F24-9 to amend the 2024 budget ordinance 23-94 to appropriate funds into the park budget.
Finance Director's request for legislation number F24-9 is prepared tonight as ordinance 24-16.
Finance Director's request for legislation number F24-10 to amend the 2024 budget ordinance 23-94 to appropriate funds into the CSO 24 and 30 Benner Interceptor, Federal Urban Paving, and OPWC funds, and to approve the return of the advances to the sewer and general funds.
Thank you. Finance Director's request for legislation number 24-10 is prepared tonight. Is that ordinance 24-12? I believe. I have that as 17. Okay, it's ordinance 24-17.
Oh, so yeah, okay. Finance Director's request for legislation number F24-11 to amend the 2024 budget ordinance 23-94 to appropriate funds into the park capital budget.
Finance Director's request for legislation number F24-11 is prepared tonight as ordinance 24-18.
Finance Director's request for legislation number F24-12 to amend the 2024 budget ordinance 23-94 to appropriate funds into the park budget.
Finance Director's request for legislation number F24-12 is prepared tonight as ordinance 24-19.
And then added to the agenda change memo tonight is the Ohio Division Liquor Control liquor permit transfer from Dunlap Brothers, doing business as TJ Willie's at 738 West Market Street, to Kilbo LLC at the same address. Excuse me.
This notice will be referred to the Street Sidewalks and Sewers Committee.
And that concludes the written communications.
Thank you. We are now under oral communications. Anyone wishing to address council may step to the podium, sign in, and direct their questions to myself. Nobody? Okay. All right. We are now under motions. Are there any motions this evening? Okay, we are now under resolutions and ordinances.
Resolution number 2024-22, introduced by John Hayes, a resolution approving mayor's appointment of Dawn Yanatuno to serve an unexpired term on the Tree Commission from the date of this signed resolution through December 31st, 2026.
Thank you. This is the first reading of Resolution 24-22. Councilmember Hayes.
I motion to pass Resolution 2024-22.
Thank you. There's a motion for passage of Resolution 24-22. Is there a second? Councilmember Thacker.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, we will now vote on the passage.
Councilmember Kaler.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Thacker.
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
And Herniman.
Yes.
Resolution 24-22 passes with a vote of 7-0.
Resolution number 2024-23, introduced by Cheyenne Thacker, a resolution authorizing the mayor to apply for, accept, and enter into a Water Pollution Control Loan Fund, WPCLF agreement on behalf of the city of Tiffin for planning, design, and/or construction of wastewater facilities involving CSO basins 18, 19, 23, 33, and 37 inflow reduction project, designating a dedicated repayment source for the loan and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. This is the first reading of Resolution 24-23. Councilmember Thacker.
I move for immediate passage of Resolution 2024-23, suspending council's three reading rule.
Thank you. There's a motion for passage of, suspending council's three reading rule and passage of Resolution 24-23. Is there a second? Councilmember Horniman.
I'll second that, Madam President.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, we will first vote on the suspension.
Councilmember Kaler.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Thacker.
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
And Herniman.
Yes.
Suspension passes with a vote of 7-0. We'll now vote on the emergency.
Councilmember Kaler.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Thacker.
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
And Herniman.
Yes.
Emergency passes with a vote of 7-0. We'll now vote on the passage.
Councilmember Kaler.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Thacker.
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
And Herniman.
Yes.
Resolution 24-23 passes with a vote of 7-0.
Resolution number 2024-24, introduced by Cheyenne Thacker, a resolution authorizing the city administrator to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Urban Waters Federal Partnership Tree Planting Grant to execute contracts as required and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. This is the first reading of Resolution 24-24.
Ordinance number 2024-4, introduced by Cheyenne Thacker, an ordinance authorizing participation in the ODOT road salt contracts awarded or the city administrator to competitively bid for the purchase of road salt.
Thank you. This is the second reading of Ordinance 24-4.
Ordinance number 2024-8, introduced by Kevin Reesner, an ordinance amending the 2024 budget ordinance 23-94 to appropriate $18,750 into the 1/4% income tax public streets fund and approve a transfer from the 1/4% income tax public streets fund to the OPWC Lone Street Paving Fund.
Did you skip 24-8 or is it on the new? It's on the new one. Okay. This is the second reading of Ordinance 24-8. Thank you.
Ordinance number 2024-9, introduced by Kevin Reesner, an ordinance amending the 2024 budget ordinance 23-94 to appropriate $25,000 into the general administration budget.
This is the second reading of ordinance 24-9.
Ordinance number 2024-11, introduced by Cheyenne Thacker, an ordinance authorizing and directing the city administrator to prepare plans and specifications, advertise for and receive bids, and recommend and execute a contract for the West Market Street, Hopewell Avenue traffic signal repair project.
Thank you. This is the second reading of ordinance 24-11.
Ordinance number 2024-12, introduced by Cheyenne Thacker, an ordinance to authorize and direct the city administrator to solicit qualifications from and enter into a contract with a professional design firm for consulting services and preparation of the engineering and design for construction of the inflow reduction for CSO basins 18, 19, 23, 33, and 37, amend budget ordinance 23-94 to establish Fund 570, CSO 18, 19, 23, 33, and 37, to appropriate money into the new fund and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. This is the first reading of ordinance 24-12. Councilmember Thacker.
I move for immediate passage of ordinance 2024-12, suspending council's three reading rule.
Thank you. There's a motion for immediate passage of ordinance 24-12, suspending council's three reading rule. Is there a second? Councilmember Jones.
I second the motion.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, we will first vote on the suspension.
Councilmember Kaler.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Thacker.
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
And Herniman.
Yes.
Suspension passes with a vote of 7-0. We'll now vote on the emergency.
Councilmember Kaler.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Thacker.
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
And Herniman.
Yes.
Emergency passes with a vote of 7-0. We'll now vote on the passage.
Councilmember Kaler.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Thacker.
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
And Herniman.
Yes.
Ordinance 24-12 passes with a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance number 2024-13, introduced by Cheyenne Thacker, an ordinance enacting section 139.07 of the Tiffin Codified Ordinances, authorizing the city administrator to maintain a file for pre-qualifications of professional design firms.
Thank you. This is the first reading of ordinance 24-13.
Ordinance number 2024-14, introduced by Kevin Reesner, an ordinance amending the 2024 budget ordinance 23-94 to reallocate $15,000 into the 0.25% income tax public streets budget.
Thank you. This is the first reading of ordinance 24-14.
Ordinance number 2024-15, introduced by Kevin Reesner, an ordinance amending the 2024 budget ordinance 23-94 to appropriate $27,861.19 into the police budget.
Thank you. This is the first reading of ordinance 24-15.
Ordinance number 2024-16, introduced by Kevin Reesner, an ordinance amending the 2024 budget ordinance 23-94 to appropriate $3,935.40 into the park budget.
Thank you. This is the first reading of ordinance 24-16. Councilmember Reesner.
Thank you, Madam President. I ask for immediate passage of ordinance 2024-16, suspending City Council's three reading rule.
Thank you. There's a motion for passage of ordinance 24-16, suspending council's three reading rule. Is there a second? Councilmember Horniman.
I'll second that, Madam President.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Councilmember Reesner.
I'd like to thank the MVets for the donation for this.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, we will first vote on the suspension.
Councilmember Kaler.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Thacker.
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
And Herniman.
Yes.
Suspension passes with a vote of 7-0. We'll now vote on the passage.
Councilmember Kaler.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Thacker.
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
And Herniman.
Yes.
Ordinance 24-16 passes with a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance number 2024-17, introduced by Kevin Reesner, an ordinance amending the 2024 budget ordinance 23-94 to appropriate funds into the CSO 24 and 30 Benner Interceptor, Federal Urban Paving, and OPWC funds, and approve the return of the advances to the sewer and general funds.
Thank you. This is the first reading of ordinance 24-17.
Ordinance number 2024-18, introduced by Kevin Reesner, an ordinance amending the 2024 budget ordinance 23-94 to appropriate $17,346 into the park capital budget.
Thank you. This is the first reading of ordinance 24-18. Councilmember Reesner.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for immediate passage of ordinance 2024-18, suspending City Council's reading rule.
Thank you. There is a motion for suspension of council's 3 reading rule and passage of ordinance 24-18. Is there a second? Councilmember Kaler.
I second the motion, Madam President.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Councilmember Reesner.
As noted by the Finance Director previously, this is for replacing a pool motor. Makes it time sensitive, and it's coming from NOPEC funds.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, we will first vote on the suspension.
Councilmember Kaler.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Thacker.
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
And Herniman.
Yes.
Suspension passes with a vote of 7-0. We'll now vote on the passage.
Councilmember Kaler.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Thacker.
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
And Herniman.
Yes.
Ordinance 24-18 passes with a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance number 2024-19, introduced by Kevin Reesner, an ordinance amending the 2024 budget ordinance 23-94 to appropriate $2,000 into the Park Department budget.
Thank you. This is the first reading of ordinance 24-19.
And that concludes the legislation.
Thank you. We are now under other business. Yes, Councilmember Thacker.
I would just like to confirm with street sidewalk sewers that we're not requesting a hearing for the liquor control permit transfer between Dunlap Brothers, Inc. and Keeple LLC.
Correct.
Correct.
Right. Yes.
Okay, I would like to ask the clerk of council to respond requesting no hearing.
Thank you. Any other business to come before council this evening? Some committee meetings. It's okay.
I'd like to announce a committee meeting
To discuss.
to discuss various requests for legislation 2410. And,
Oh, you just got 10.
yeah, 2410. It'll be next Monday at 5:15 here in the chamber. And any other business after?
Thank you. Councilmember Hayes.
I'd like to announce a Personnel and Labor Relations Committee meeting following next Monday, February 12th, following the Park and Recreation and Public Property meeting. This meeting will discuss Mayor's request for legislation number 24-10 and number 24-11 and any other business before the committee.
Thank you.
I think it's 11 and 12, right?
Yes, 11 and 12.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Catching that. Any other business to come before council this evening? Okay, seeing none, we can adjourn. Thank you.